It all started with a knock. Just one simple knock on my front door. At the time, it didn't feel like the beginning of anything extraordinary. In fact, it was a quiet Tuesday evening, and I was curled up on my couch with a blanket, trying to distract myself from the emptiness that had crept into my days. My name is Emma, and I had been living alone for almost a year after moving to a small town in Vermont. Life had slowed down in ways I wasn't ready for. My friends were far away, my family scattered, and I was trying to find pieces of myself in the silence. That knock was the last thing I expected. I hesitated before opening the door, because in my new town, unexpected visitors were rare. But when I pulled the door open, there he was, standing with a hesitant smile, holding an envelope in his hand. His name, I would later learn, was Daniel. He wasn't flashy or dramatic, but there was something steady in his presence, something that made my racing heart slow just a little. "Hi, I'm sorry to bother you," he said, his voice warm but uncertain. "This was accidentally delivered to my house. I think it's yours." He extended the envelope, and for a second I simply stared at it, then at him. It was such a small gesture, but something about the way he looked directly into my eyes made me feel seen in a way I hadn't in months. I thanked him, and we shared one of those polite, neighborly smiles. He nodded, as if about to leave, but then paused. "You're new around here, right? I don't think we've met." His words were casual, yet they cracked open a door inside me that had been shut too long. I admitted I had moved in recently, still figuring things out. Daniel chuckled lightly. "Well, welcome. It's a good town. Quiet, but it grows on you." That could have been the end of it, but something in me didn't want the moment to close. "Do you want to come in for some tea?" I heard myself ask, surprising even me. He hesitated just a beat before smiling and accepting. That night, we sat in my living room, cups of chamomile tea warming our hands, as the soft hum of rain began tapping against the windows. Our conversation wasn't rushed. It flowed gently, like two rivers meeting. He told me he worked as a carpenter, building furniture with his hands, something he had learned from his father. I told him about my work as a writer, how words had always been my way of making sense of the world, though lately, the blank page had been haunting me. He listened with genuine interest, his eyes kind, his presence unhurried. It felt like the kind of conversation you don't realize you've been craving until it happens. Days passed, then weeks. That one knock led to others, this time on purpose. Daniel would stop by after work, sometimes with fresh bread from the local bakery, sometimes with nothing but his company. We began walking together in the evenings, down the quiet streets of our neighborhood, past houses where porch lights glowed like small lighthouses. I learned he had lived here all his life, that he loved the way seasons transformed the town. He loved autumn most, with its amber leaves and crisp air. I told him I loved spring, the way everything bloomed with second chances. Somewhere along those walks, laughter began to replace silence inside me. One evening, rain fell hard against the sidewalks. I stood at my window, debating whether to cancel our walk, but then I saw him standing outside with an umbrella, waiting. I grabbed my jacket and ran to him. As we walked under the umbrella together, shoulders brushing, I felt something shift in me, something warm and alive. I caught him looking at me once, his gaze soft, before he looked away. Neither of us spoke of it, but I carried that look with me all night. Our bond grew in small, ordinary moments. We cooked together, laughed over silly mistakes, sat quietly while he sanded a piece of wood, and I scribbled in my journal. But the ordinary had become extraordinary, because I was beginning to see life through his eyes, steady, patient, full of small beauties I had overlooked. He told me once, while we were sitting on a park bench watching children play, that he admired how I noticed details, how I saw stories in places he only saw silence. I told him I admired how grounded he was, how he built not just furniture but a life with his hands and his heart. By December, the town was dressed in snow and twinkling lights. Daniel came over one evening carrying a box of ornaments. "Thought your tree could use some help," he teased. We decorated together, and when the lights finally glowed, I felt warmth rush through me. Standing there, beside him, watching the lights reflect in his eyes, I realized that knock had truly changed my world. Yet with the warmth came fear, fear of leaning too much on someone, fear of losing again. I tried to hide it, but Daniel noticed. He always noticed. One night, I couldn't sleep. I sat by my window, writing in my journal, trying to put into words the fragile hope blooming inside me. Daniel had become more than a neighbor, more than a friend. He had become part of my days, part of my healing. But could I trust it? Could I trust myself? The next morning, he showed up at my door again, holding 2 cups of coffee. "You look like you didn't sleep," he said gently. I laughed, admitting my restless thoughts. He didn't push, didn't demand answers. He just sat with me, sipping coffee, letting the silence be enough. Winter turned into spring, and one evening, we walked by the lake as the sun set in a blaze of orange and gold. The air was cool, the water reflecting colors like melted fire. Daniel stopped walking, turned to me, and simply said, "I'm glad I knocked that night." His words were simple, but they carried weight. My eyes stung with tears I hadn't expected. "Me too," I whispered. It wasn't a confession of love. Not yet, but it was the truth. In that moment, everything I had been afraid of melted into the certainty that sometimes life gives us exactly what we need when we least expect it. Looking back, it amazes me how something so small, just a knock on the door, could shift the course of my life. Daniel didn't rescue me. He simply reminded me how to live again, how to let someone in, how to trust the gentle unfolding of moments. Love didn't arrive in a grand gesture or dramatic scene. It arrived in the quiet kindness of a stranger who became my friend, in laughter shared under rain, in ornaments hung side by side, in the steady rhythm of 2 people choosing to show up. My world shifted not because of what I lost, but because of what I gained. And it all began with one simple knock.